Commissioner Rogers, I have two more speakers on this item, Ken Beer and Marco Mlikaktin. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Go ahead.
That was Sigmund Freud at his best.
Yeah.
Anyway, please.
My name is Ken Beer. I've worked with Fish and Game for over 35 years, including I was certainly involved, maybe partially responsible with the initial fish stocking regulations back in the early 1980s. At one time, Fish and Game was one of my biggest customers. I've had many long-term professional relationships with the department. This is the first time in many appearances before the Fish and Game Commission that I'm going to be speaking in opposition to what the department's proposing. And I changed my talk because I wanted to address a couple of the issues that the department has brought forward. The 37 county exemption, I know that may be some concern. That is probably the least onerous of the changes that the department was proposing to the fish stocking regulations, was the removal of this exemption. Also, it should mention that the two ADC meetings that supposedly where we met with the department on this issue, it was basically to review what the department had already presented. And in fact, at the second one, we were faced with basically the department had made some minor changes to the EIR that made it more onerous. For instance, they said that stocking could not occur if there was any adverse impact on any native species, whereas the EIR had said decision species. We pointed that out to them, and to their credit, they corrected it. But really, the issue on why these regulations are will kill the industry is this pre-stocking evaluation protocol. You mentioned there's only 89 decision species. By the way, this will be part of Title 14. I suspect almost at every commission meeting there's going to be a request to be more decision species. We already have groups that have proposed an additional 50 more decision species, including a lot of invertebrates. So be prepared for that if that's the process you want to go through. The site inspections, you've heard the thousands of dollars that will cost. I'm sorry. Uh-oh.
Yes, please wrap up.
Okay.
Keep going, but please wrap up.
Okay, so basically the process they've proposed is basically totally unworkable. It will wipe out the industry, it'll wipe out fish stocking. You've heard it from all these people. The commission is being asked to give guidance. We were originally told this would be a notice meeting. We hope that your guidance will be, Department, we know you're tied to this EIR. That's why you haven't been able to negotiate with the industry. That's what we've been told. You have to go with these mitigation measures that the EIR says. What the EIR has proposed is totally unworkable. So we hope the guidance you will give the department is no, we're not going to proceed with this. At some point, if we want to address this exempt county issue, we can do that. But this other process is just totally unworkable. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Final speaker, Marco, and you can give your last name.
Okay. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Marco Mlikaktin. I serve as the Executive Director for the California Association.
Sir, would you do me a favor and spell your last name?
It's Mlikotin. I think I went 10 seconds back on the clock.
That's up to me, but since you did as I asked, yes, you may have it, man.
All right, very good. Well, let me get going since I have limited time left. Today you've heard testimony from considerable number of members of the public. You have also received a petition with more than 1,000 signatures. We are told by the Department of Fish and Game that you have received over 870 emails and over 280 letters urging you to reject these regulations outright. And I might note that the environmental groups that sued the state did not submit a letter, nor did they testify here, nor is there any member of the environmental community who has stepped before you to justify and defend these regulations. The only people defending these regulations are staff and Mr. Wheatland, who spoke a few moments ago. You have also received letters from some of two well-regarded members of the Department's Aquaculture Development and Aquaculture Disease Committees, men respected for their intellect and their independent judgment. Dr. Charles Palmer, the Department of Food and Agriculture, wrote that basically if fish stocking created significant adverse impact on these populations, surely someone would have noted it, certainly by now. Another is Dr. Fred Conti, with Extension Aquaculture Specialist with the University of California, Davis, who wrote, I can categorically say that many, if not most, of the small freshwater producers will be put out of business by these actions. There is almost no upside to these regulations and only downside consequences. In his letter to you, he concludes by saying that most often he finds himself aligned with the department on such issues. However, on this issue, he is opposed. Commissioners, again, you have heard significant public testimony, a very diverse group of organizations and individuals. They represent small business, anglers, state legislators, local government, state tourism, lodging, campground facilities, water and recreational districts, marina operators, golfers, farmers, ranchers, restaurant and grocery stores, and many more. And they all share one common theme, and that is this: these regulations are so costly, that so many jobs are at stake. The only upside of this whole experience is that I think this industry has truly learned how many friends they have and how many people they impact, how many jobs and lives that they touch. Again, I'd say in conclusion, we urge you very strongly. There is no constituency advocating for these regulations. We urge you today to take action and put an end to this. So many businesses here in California need the certainty of knowing that these regulations will go away and they can continue to resume their life and protect their livelihood. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. That is the last public speaker, correct, John?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or comments by commissioners? No? Commissioner Sutton is
Mr. President.
risen to the challenge.